Viewers, as you all know, we have started with the poem The Wasteland of T.S. Eliot, and today we are with its second section, that is the burial of the dead. And we have already completed its first section, that is the burial of the dead. Today we are going to do the second section, A Game of Chess. Reading the text is very important because it helps us to understand the poem better, and we can understand the meaning in a more comprehensible way with more clarity. Okay, so let us start the poem. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on the marble where the glass, held up by standards wrought with fruited vines, from which a golden Cupidon peeped out. Another hid his eyes behind its wing. Doubled the flames of 7-branched candelabra, reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of her jewels rose to meet it. From satin cases poured in rich profusion, in vials of ivory and colored glass, unstoppered lurked her strange synthetic perfumes, unguent, powdered or liquid, troubled, confused, and drowned the sense in odors stirred by the air that freshened from the window. These ascended in fattening the prolonged candle flames, flung the smoke into the lacaria, stirring the pattern on the coffered ceiling. Huge seawood fed with copper, burned green and orange, framed by the colored stone, in which a sad light, a carved dolphin swam. Above the antique mantel was displayed, as though a window gave upon the sylvan scene, the change of Philomel by the barbarous king so rudely forced, yet there the nightingale filled all the desert with inviolable voice, and still she cried, and still the world pursues. Jug jug to dirty years and another withered stumps of time were told upon the walls. Staring forms leaned out, leaning, hushing the room enclosed. Footsteps shuffled on the stair. Under the firelight, under the brush, her hair, spread out in fairy points, glowed into words that would be savagely still. My nerves are bad tonight. Yes, bad. Stay with me. Speak to me. Why do you never speak? Speak. What are you thinking of? What thinking? What? I never know what you are thinking. Think. I think we are in Rat's Alley, where the dead men lost their bones. What is this noise? The wind under the door. What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing again, nothing. Do you know nothing? Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing? I remember. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Are you alive or not? Is there something in your head? But oh, 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 that Shakespearean rag. It's so elegant, so intelligent. What shall I do now? What shall I do? I shall rush out as I am and walk the street with my head down so. What shall we do tomorrow? What shall we ever do? The hot water at 10, and if it rains, a closed car at 4, and we shall play a game of chess, pressing lidless eyes and waiting for a knock upon the door. When Lil's husband got demobbed, I didn't mince my words. I said to her myself, hurry up, please, it's time. Now Albert's coming up back. Make yourself a bit smart. He'll want to know what you done with that money he gave you. To get yourself some teeth. He did. I was there. You have them all out, Lil, and get a nice set. He said, I swear, I can't bear to look at you. And no more can't I said, and think of poor Albert. He's been in the army 4 years. He wants a good time. And if you don't give it him, there's others will. I said, oh, is there? She said, something. Oh, that, I said. Then I'll know who to thank, she said, and give me a straight look. Hurry up, please, it's time. If you don't like it, you can get on with it, I said. Others can pick and choose if you can't. But if Albert makes off, it won't be for lack of telling. You ought to be ashamed, I said, to look so antique, and her only 31. I can't help it, she said, pulling a long face. It's them pills I took to bring it off, she said. She had 5 already and nearly died of young George. The chemist said it would be all right, but I have never been the same. You are a proper fool, I said. Well, if Albert won't leave you alone, there it is, I said. What you get married for if you don't want children? Hurry up, please, it's time. Well, that Sunday Albert was home. They had a hot gammon and they asked me in to dinner to get the beauty of it hot. Hurry up, please, it's time. Hurry up, please, it's time. Good night, Bill. Good night, love. Good night, May. Good night. Tata. Good night. Good night. Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night. Good night. So, with this, we come to the end of the text of the second section of the poem, The Wasteland. And now I shall explain you this section. As for the introduction, a game of chess is a device used by Middleton in the play entitled Woman Beware Woman, where this game is played to hide the seduction of a young girl by a nobleman. In this section, the poet indicates the failure of sex relationship in the modern world. Sex has become a purely physical kind of entertainment and has lost its moral and social purpose. Sex perversities, both in high and low life, have become a matter of mechanical routine. The title, A Game of Chess, is borrowed from Middleton's play, Woman Beware Woman. A game of chess is played to distract the attention of an old woman while her daughter-in-law is seduced by a lustful duke. The implication is that violation of sexual discipline brings frustration and spiritual decay. The second implication of a game of chess is a situation of checkmate, where the game enters a blind alley, meaning thereby that married life becomes dull and boring. And we have another implication, that is the third implication of the title, is a life of emotional starvation in the process of mechanical routine. Well, the moral of the section is that the foundation of a healthy society is a disciplined sexual relationship. When sex is free from restriction or control, it leads to perversion and creates a sense of frustration and failure in married life. So, as you can see, there is an elaborate description of the drawing room of the lady. In the first line, which is line number 77, the chair she sat in like a burnished throne glowed on the marble where the glass held up by standards wrought with fruited wines. This refers to the chair of Cleopatra that is mentioned in Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra. Cleopatra of today is Belladonna, Lady of the Rocks, mentioned by Eliot in the first section, if you remember. And the entire furniture and decorations of the charming room are vividly described in the line that follows, and beautiful imagery has been given to describe the drawing room of the lady, and also the falsity and the materialism of the age has been shown. The Lady of the Rocks, Belladonna, sat in a royal chair which looked like a polished throne, burnished throne, polished throne. The reflection of the chair could be seen on the marble floor, and the looking glass was supported by pillars which had the design of fruits and grapes carved upon them, and a golden image of Cupid hung from one of the pillars, and another small image of Cupid could be seen peeping out behind the wing of the golden Cupid. And the flames of the 7 candles burning in the chandelier were reflected in the mirror. The double reflection appeared on the shining table. On the shining table, while the glitter of the jewels of the lady which stood in the satin boxes, added to the brilliance. And the bottles of ivory, vials of ivory, and colored glass were opened, and they gave out a strange fragrance of synthetic perfumes. The makeup of the lady consisted of creams, powders, and liquid, and all these gave out a dizzy fragrance which drowned the sense in odors. The fragrance was disturbed by the air which came fresh from the windows, and as it went up, it fattened the long lasting candle flames and turned the smoke towards the ceiling, thereby disturbing the patterns carved therein on the ceiling. And the logs of seawood, huge logs of seawood, along with copper pieces burnt in the fireplace, were panelled by colored stone. The flames appeared green and orange, and in the dim light thereof was seen the carving of a swimming dolphin. And a little above the antique metal was hung a picture of the change of Philomela, as it looked as if a window opened upon a sylvan scene of the fate of Philomela, who was transformed into a nightingale, filled the desert with a sweet music. Even till today, she continues to cry, and still the world listens to her. But her cry has been interpreted differently. Her cry has been interpreted as the reaction of a rape to the dirty years of the modern man. Many other carved features and decorations dealing with the stories and myths of the past could be seen hanging on the walls of the drawing room, staring images and carving leaned out from the walls. The room appeared quite hushed and silent. The room up suddenly, footsteps could be heard, which indicated that some visitor was about to enter the drawing room. And the lady sitting on that room got a little excited, and with the light of the fire started looking for her brush in order to keep her hair in form. And she brushed her hair, which are spread out in fiery points, which indicates her excitement on hearing the footsteps of that visitor. Now, from line 111, the idea of sex in high society is given. And now, as the lover entered the drawing room, the lady said to him, "My nerves are bad tonight." "Yes, really bad. Please stay with me and speak with me." "What are you thinking of?" "What thinking? What? I never know what you are thinking. Think." The lover replied, "I think we are in Rat's Alley, where the dead men lost their bones. The lady again asks, "What is that noise?" The man replies, "The wind under the door." Again she asks, "What is that noise now? What is the wind doing?" The man replies, "Nothing," again nothing. The lady again asks him, "You know nothing. Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing?" The man answered, "I remember. Those are pearls that were his eyes." This is an allusion to Shakespeare. Those are pearls that were his eyes. This is a line from Shakespeare, The Tempest. The lady asked again, "Are you alive or not? Is there nothing in your head?" But that Shakespearean rag, it's so elegant, so intelligent. The lady says, "What shall I do now? What shall I do?" She answers to herself, "I shall rush out as I am and walk the street with my hair down so. What shall we do tomorrow? What shall we ever do? What shall we ever do? She remembered the routine hot water bath at 10 o'clock, and if it rains, a drive in a closed car to the club at 4. There we shall play a game of chess, pressing open eyes and waiting for a knock upon the door. This is a reference to Middleton's play entitled Woman Beware Woman. Then from line 139, there is a depiction of married life of the lower classes, and this is a story of a married life of Lil and Albert. Their relations are not quite happy on account of sex perversion. When Lil's husband was to be released from the army, her lady friend met her in the pub and told her quite frankly that now Albert was coming back from the army and she, Lil, should make herself a little smart and be attractive for him. When Lil's husband got demobbed, I didn't mince my words, I said to her myself, now Albert coming back, make yourself a bit smart. And Albert will want to know what she had done with the money that Albert gave her to get herself a new set of teeth, because he had instructed to have her teeth extracted and get a nice set. The lady warned Lil if she did not give a good time to Albert, maybe Albert would leave her. In the meantime, we hear the barmaid cries out that the pub is about to close. Hurry up, please, it's time. And her voice could be heard in spite of conversation between the two ladies. The lady told Lil that if she did not like her advice, she could do as she pleased. Others could pick and choose if she means Lil, could not. She warned her that if Albert left her, she would have to blame herself because she has had her advice. And the lady also tells Lil that Albert couldn't bear to look at Lil, and she told Lil that she should be ashamed for looking so old. So you ought to be ashamed, I said, to look so antique, so old. And although she was only 31, but she looked older than that. And of course, her appearance also deteriorated. And Lil replied with a sad face that she could not help her looks because of the abortion pills that she took to get rid of her pregnancy. Because of the pills, her looks were damaged maybe, and she had already 5 children, and she nearly escaped death when the last child, George, was born. The chemist had assured her that the pills were safe, but she knew to her cost that they had ruined her health and perhaps her appearance too. She could never be what she was before taking the pills. The lady told Lil that she was a great fool. And if Albert would not leave her alone, she had no other alternative but to live with him. The lady then again asks, why did she get married if she did not want children? Because marriage and children went together hand in hand. The barmaid again shouted that it was time for the pub to close down. Hurry up, please, it's time. The barmaid again shouted that it was time for the pub to close down. That Sunday, Albert was at home. They, Lil and Albert, had a hot gammon and they invited the lady to dinner to eat the hot dish. The barmaid again gives a call. Hurry up, please, it's time. Hurry up, please, it's time. pub was being closed immediately, and Lil, Albert, and the lady, they bade good night to each other and left. Now, this last line, good night, is taken from Ophelia's farewell. That was in the Shakespearean tragedy Hamlet, which symbolically sums up the tragedy of the married life of Lil and Albert. So you can see that there is a fascinating scene in the drawing room of a lady of fashion in modern metropolis. This lady represents any fashionable woman, Belladonna or Belinda or Cleopatra or Dido. The poet describes the furniture and the fittings in a great detail with almost Keatsian imagery and sensuousness. The lady sat on a chair which looked like a shining throne standing on the polished marble stone. There was a huge mirror that was fixed against the wall with wooden pillars, and there was a golden figure of Cupid peeping out of the pillars. There was another figure of Cupid stood behind it peeping. There was 7 branch candle holder held the lighted candles and whose flames were reflected in the mirror. Now Eliot again describes the cosmetics of the lady in fashion. The cosmetics have been explained and depicted in great detail. Her synthetic perfumes lay in satin boxes. The bottles of perfume were made either of ivory or of colored glass, and the cosmetics were in either in powder form or maybe cream or liquid form. And the total effect of these cosmetics was that the human senses were flooded with fragrance of different kinds, and as the fresh air blew from the window, it carried the different odors towards the ceiling. As they touched the candle flames, they increased the flames, which in turn produced greater smoke, which touched the paneled ceiling. This vapor disturbed the patterns carved on the valuable ceiling panels. This is a very sensuous imagery of the decorations and the light and candles and perfumes and fragrance of the drawing room of that lady. Then again, the fireplace of the sitting room of the lady was framed with colored stone, and the dim light showed the carving of a dolphin over the fire flame above the mantelpiece, and there were paintings of different types hanging. They were hanging against the wall. And there was a painting of Philomel, who was the younger sister of Progne, the wife of King Tereus. She was raped by the king, and her tongue was cut so that she might not be able to tell the story of the king's misdeed. However, Philomela wove her story on a cloth piece, which she sent to her sister, the queen. The enraged queen killed the king's only son and served his meat to the king. Somehow, the king came to know of his son's murder and wanted to punish the queen, her sister Philomela, and other ladies. And then the god intervened to prevent the tragedies and transformed Philomela into a nightingale. And the king was transformed into a swallow, and the king Tereus into a hawk. The nightingale sang a beautiful song about her tragedy. The Elizabethan poets, however, reproduced the sound of nightingale as juk juk, which is symbolic of the sexual act. Juk juk is symbolic of the sexual act. The idea behind Philomela's painting is that her beautiful song has been degraded to the rhythm of sexual contact to please the filthy ears of modern men. Her pathetic song is not a story of barbaric rape, but a heart-rending tragedy. The decorative paintings hung on the wall have no significance or vitality for the men or women of the modern world. Then, there were many other paintings and carved figures of ancient myths, stories, and scenes on the wall of the drawing room. other withered stumps of time. And they stared at the things lying in the sitting room, thereby added to the stillness of the room and the loneliness of the lady sitting therein. Then the sounds of the footsteps going upstairs disturbed the silence. This sound reached the lady's ears, and she started dressing her hair under the candlelight. This indicates the arrival of some visitor. As she brushed her hair, they stood straight on her ends as if they were full of excitement. As if they were full of excitements. And out of loneliness, the lady tells the visitor, "My nerves are bad tonight." "Yes, bad. Stay with me. Speak with me. Speak to me. Why do you never speak? Speak. What are you thinking of? What thinking? What? What is that noise? What is that noise?" These things the lady asks the visitor. She tells her lover that she is rather depressed. She needs a little rest as well as company. She would like the lover to stay with her and speak to her for some time. And the lover has nothing to speak about. The lover has nothing to speak about. The lover has nothing to speak about. She asks the lover again what is in his mind and what he is thinking about. This conversation between the lover and the lady shows a mental vacuum. Both are the victims of boredom and thoughtlessness of modern life. Lover replies to his beloved that human beings are like rats in their holes. "I think we are in Rat's Alley where the dead men lost their bones." The lover replies to his beloved that human beings are like rats in their holes. They keep running round and thus only disturbing the dead bones lying around. This is a comment on the spiritual barrenness and the decay of the modern man. His life is an example of monotony, of routine and tired nerves. Then Then we see the story of Lil and Albert. We see the story of Lil and Albert because we see that Albert comes after 4 years from army, and Lil is not that attractive because of the abortion pills that she took. Although she's only 31, yet she looks and older than that, and the lady advises her if she will not be able to give a good time to Albert, then there are many other ladies which will who will readily give a good time to Albert. Good time means sex indulgence, and sex indulgence. This shows the sexual perversion that existed in that society. In the story of Lil, who is conversing with another lady about her husband, the woman is nervous and afraid because she has lost her charm and yet wants to make her husband stay with her. So we see even in the lower strata of society, sex ranks supreme. The scene is laid in a tavern, or what is generally called a pub. Lil and her lady friend sitting in the pub talk about the problem. The barmaid shouts, "Hurry up, please, it's time." And Lil talks about her broken marriage. Her husband has been demobbed after 4 years in army service. He wants to have a good time. He wants to be smart. He wants her to be smart. The lady asks Lil whether she will be able to retain the love of her husband. She is looking old. Her husband had given her money to buy a set of dentures as she had lost her natural teeth. Her husband Albert wants to enjoy life. The lady asks Lil if she can give a good time to her husband. As she does not, he would go to another woman. Lil is suspicious of her lady friend because she might snatch away her husband. Lil has a meaningful look at her friend. The lady tells Lil that if she does not like her advice, she can do as she pleases. There are other women who will pick up Albert. There are other women who will pick up Albert if she is unable to give Albert a good time. If Albert goes with them, she should not plead her ignorance. She has already been told about it. Therefore, she must look attractive. Lily tells Lil that she should be ashamed of her figure. Lil looks quite old, though she is only 31, and Lil answers that she cannot help her figure because her health has been ruined with the pills, the abortion pills that she took. She had aborted because she had already 5 children, and the birth control pills have ruined her health. The lady tells Lil to keep her husband satisfied. Lil feels that motherhood kills beauty and birth control medicines ruin health. At the same time, she must keep her man with herself. Then we see that that Sunday Albert was home. That Sunday Albert was home and had invited this lady to dinner at her house. They had a dish of bacon. The pub is about to close now, and the men and women bid goodbye to one another. The last line, "Good night, ladies, good night, sweet ladies, good night," is a line taken from Ophelia's farewell in Hamlet. Hamlet, the Shakespearean tragedy, has a character, Ophelia. This line has been taken from Ophelia's farewell. The lot of a modern poor woman is similar to that of Ophelia, one of unfulfilled love. The problem is how to keep young and attractive and at the same time prevent reproduction. The basic idea is that a woman must hold her man and keep him from running after another woman. Eliot feels that marriage is for regulation and discipline of sex instinct and not for indulging in sex perversion. Both the women of high society and the women of lower strata from nervousness and uncertainty and emotional imbalance. Obsession with sex is one of the main diseases of modern civilization. This is suggested in this section that we should be disciplined. The last line, good night, tata, good night, ladies. This line is an adaptation from the farewell of Ophelia in Hamlet, as I already said, brings a note of sadness and pathos into the story. It throws light on the tragedy of Lil, who has lost her health and is also unable to keep her husband. It reveals perversion of married life where childbearing has to be controlled, and at the same time the sensual husband is to be prevented from mixing with other women. Eliot seems to plead that marriage is meant for regulation and discipline of sex life and not for sexual perversion. So I hope you enjoyed this session. You understood the poem, the second section, A Game of Chess. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, do like, share, subscribe, and very soon we'll be coming with the third section, that is the fire sermon. So that is all for today. Thank you so much.